Right, today we have our roadmap to success for Shannon, our Beagle, Blue, our Blue Heeler, and then over here we have Lady, who's a Greyhound mix. So their guardians called me to talk about how we could make the relationship between Shannon and Lady better. Lady had been being aggressive towards Shannon, and talking to their guardians, we had first established that there weren't a lot of rules in place. So we started off by discussing what kind of rules that we can put in place to establish the owners as the leaders of the house and the dogs into a follower position. Next, we started discussing what types of things we want to look for between these two dogs to make sure that we don't have any type of aggressive behavior going on in the future. Right now I do have them on their leashes just to make sure that we're still in a positive environment. And some of the things that I want the guardians to be able to remember to look for is if either of the dogs start their bodies kind of loose and comfortable, and then either of them go stiff. If their body gets very stiff and rigid, if their hackles on the back of their fur back here starts to stand up, or if their eyes get kind of dark, very dark, almost like a black color, those are all signs that the dogs are not comfortable and might be more likely to be aggressive themselves towards each other. They don't always have to be looking directly at each other either. They can, like this, be looking kind of this way and looking over here at the corner of their eye. Those are all things that you want to make sure that you're looking for to stop any type of aggressive or challenging behavior before it even begins. At that point, I would suggest that you separate the dogs for a moment, let their energy kind of de-escalate, and then take them outside and walk them as you saw in the previous video, one dog on each side, so they're moving forward together. We don't want their last experience to be something where they were challenging each other. Now, it seems like what has happened in the past is that Lady's actually probably challenging Shannon, the Beagle, because she's much older but also much smaller. And Shannon, while appearing to be maybe the one who starts the aggressive behavior, is more or less asking Shannon Lady to respect her space by growling and kind of snapping out but staying in place. But because she sees out of the corner of her eye that Lady is challenging her. So in the future, the guardians want to make sure that they're always supervising the dogs until they start getting along in a much more positive environment, and they continuously don't have to separate them for potential disagreements. And that should stop any aggression going forward. We also did some counter conditioning before we took them for a walk. If the dogs were to get in any type of disagreement, we want to reinforce this type of counter conditioning. What we did is we brought Lady and Shannon, we separated them in the hallway, and we slowly decreased the amount of space between them. And we gave them treats only when they were looking at each other. And we could do that by taking a treat, I'm pretending to have one, and you can kind of move their head in whatever direction that your hand is in, so we'd only give them treats if they were looking at each other. If they were not looking at each other, and they were not around each other, they would not receive any kind of treat reward. That way they start to associate looking at each other or being around each other as a very positive thing. And then when the other is not around, they don't get that treat reward. The other thing that you want to do is when they're in really calm, good behavior like they are right now, if you want to pan down and kind of just show that Shannon and Lady are actually in pretty close proximity to each other at this point, while we do have them still in a controlled situation. You want to pet them and reinforce this type of good behavior. They're very close to each other, but they're still relaxed and comfortable. And you always want to reinforce really good positive energy between the two of them. And of course, as always, we went through a leadership exercise and a structured feeding. Now their other dog, Blue, who was in the video a little earlier, but is off camera right now, has the best energy in the house, has not gotten into any kind of aggressive behavior with either of the dogs, and also listens to the guardians pretty regularly and very well. It's the dog that they feel like they want the other dogs to be modeled after. So Blue gets to eat first because Blue has the best behavior out of the three dogs. Then we go down by seniority. Shannon is the next eldest, or is the oldest out of the three, so Shannon gets to eat second, and then Lady third. And what we're doing is they cannot go into the room where they're eating until they are asked to, so the guardians will be claiming the laundry room, which is where the dogs will be eating, and the dogs will be eating one at a time. And remember to, as when one dog finishes eating, to make sure that dog leaves before another dog goes in to eat the food. All right, so this would be the roadmap to success for Shannon. Very good girl, Shannon. For Shannon, Lady, and Blue.